Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today you are going to be learning about the properties of order of operations. Before we do that, make sure that you have your name, period, and date, please. And before we actually start solving some of the problems, we're going to talk about the keyword simplifying. What do you think the word simplifying means? Simplifying is a pretty easy word to describe actually because it kind of gives you the answer in the word. Simplifying means to make something simpler or easier to understand. So let's go ahead and make sure that we write that right here. I've gone ahead and typed it out for you. If you need to pause the video to write it down, go ahead and do that. Remember, simplifying means to make something simple or easier to understand. Okie dokie. So we're going to be doing that with some of our problems. And if we're looking at this one, what you should notice is that you actually already know how to solve the first one. So right now I'm going to go ahead and pause the video so that you can go ahead and answer this first example. So let's see how you did. Here I notice that there's more than one operation, which means that I should be using PEMDAS. That way I can make sure that I do the operations in the correct order. And so the first set in PEMDAS is parentheses. And we do have some parentheses. We have them right here. So let's go ahead and solve that. I am going to go ahead and copy everything else so that I don't forget any steps. And I do know that 5 times 2 gives me 10. Alrighty, I am done with parentheses. There aren't any more. And the next step is exponents. And there are some exponents. And that is right here with 3 squared. What does 3 squared mean? If you said 3 squared means 3 times 3, you are absolutely correct. I'm multiplying that number by itself. And then I'm going to make sure that I get everything else down so that I don't miss a step. And there isn't any more exponents, so I can go ahead and move on. There is also no multiplication or division. And there is some addition and subtraction. I need to remember to start from left to right. Okay, so if I look here, 9 plus 16 comes first, so I need to do that. And 9 plus 16 should have given you 25. And then the last step was to subtract 10 from that. So your final answer should have been 15. So if I look at the original expression that I started with, this one right here, you simplified it and got 15. Both of them were equal. One is just a simpler or easier way to understand the problem. Okay, now starting here, we're going to also start seeing some variables. And a variable is a letter that's included in your expression or equation, and that is because we don't know what that variable represents. We would need to figure that out. Right now, it's just holding a place for a number. So before we start doing that, I am going to be simplifying this expression. I notice that there is 2 sets of multiplication here. I see it right here with 12x, and I also see it right here with 5x. And the simpler way of doing it is by not including the multiplication sign. If I see a number next to a variable, that's the simplest way of showing multiplication. So let's go ahead and simplify this right here by just doing 12x. Because 12x means to multiply, just like that 12 times x. 12x is a simpler way of doing that. So let's go ahead and make sure that we also bring everything else down. Now, to simplify with variables and constants, a constant is just a number that's by itself, like that 8 and 4, we need to combine like terms. If I'm going to be combining like terms, I can only combine the variables together and the constants together. So if I'm looking here, which numbers are with variables? If you said 12x and 5x, you're correct. Both of those have the letter x next to them. So I'm going to combine them. Now, between them, there is an addition sign. So to combine them, I'm going to go ahead and add them. If I have 12x plus 5x, I end up with 17x. Because all I did was add that 12 and 5 because that's how many x's I have. Now, the next thing that I notice is this 8 and this 4 are constants. They are numbers that are by themselves. So I can also combine those. And the operation between the 8 and 4 is division. So if I do that, it's 8 divided by 4, which gives me 2. I am going to make sure that I bring down that subtraction sign in the middle. Now this right here is my final answer to how I simplify this expression. And the reason why is because I can't combine anything else. The variable x cannot be combined with single numbers like 2. Okay? Now this is a much simpler way of seeing that operation. So we're going to be moving on to example number 3 now. And for example number 3, again, I want to simplify things. What is the first thing that you would simplify? The first thing that I would simplify is the multiplication right here. I know that multiplication can be represented by just having the number, the coefficient with its variable, y. So I know 5 times y is the same as 5y. And then from there, I'm going to make sure that I bring everything else down. And I can now combine something else. What would you combine next? If you said 9 divided by 3, you are correct because those numbers are constants. They don't have any letters with them. They don't have any variables. So that would be 9 divided by 3, which gives us 3. And I am going to make sure that I bring everything else down. Would you be able to do anything next? The answer to that is no. This is my simplest term. That variable cannot be combined with the constant. So this is the simplified version of my original expression. So right now I want you to go ahead and on your notes, write out in your own words, what does it mean to simplify an expression? And when you're done writing it, go ahead and type it here. Alrighty, so now we are moving on to distributive property. What do you think the word distributive means? Distributive kind of sounds like the word distribute, which means to pass out or give out to everyone. So that's something that you can think about when you were thinking about distribution. Right now, I'm going to type the definition so that you can write it down, and then I'll tell you what it means. So it did not fit over here, so I put it over here, but what I have over here, make sure that you write it right here where it says distributive property. Now, distributive property is when we are able to multiply a sum or difference by multiplying each number separately. So I am distributing the same order multiplication to every single number that's inside the parentheses. And we're about to do some examples. So right here, I see this 3 right outside my parentheses. Since there is no operation, what operation do you think that means you're doing? Multiplication is the correct answer. Kind of like our variables before, if there is no operation between them, then we know we are multiplying. And so for this one, I know that I'm able to multiply 3 times 2x and 3 times 4 before I add them. Because sometimes some might see this and they want to try and add 2x plus 4 first. Well, we can't because there aren't common like terms here. We can't combine them. And so then some might say, oh, well, then I have to do 3 times 2x, and then I need to do 3 times 4, which is correct. But instead of having to show that, all we need to do is show with arrows. I'm going to distribute this 3 by multiplying it with 2x. What do you think that would equal? 3 times 2x is 6x. And now I'm also going to make sure that I pass out this 3 to everything that's inside the parentheses. So I also need to multiply it with 4. And 3 times 4 gives us 12. And, oh, what did that do? And if you're paying attention from that last section, then you know that this is the simplest way of showing this expression. So now we're going to repeat it here. Again, all I need to do is make sure that I distribute this 4 to everything that is inside the parentheses. The first thing inside is that x. What is negative 4 times x? The answer is negative 4x because that x is telling me there's only one of them. So if I do 1 times negative 4, it gives me negative 4. And then I need to make sure that I also distribute to this negative 8. And what is negative 4 times negative 8? If you remember your integers, 2 negatives will give me a positive, and 4 times 8 is 32. Okie dokie. So now I want you to go ahead and try it out on your own. For example 3, what would that be when we distribute 11 to x plus 3? If we distribute 11 times x would give me 11x, and 11 times positive 3 would give me 33. So you should have gotten 11x plus 33. All right, in your own words, what does it mean to do the distributive property? We are down to the last one, equivalent expressions. What do you think equivalent means? If you said equal, you are absolutely correct. So for this one, what I need to do is look to see if one side is equal to the other side. And if we're looking here, I see that I need to distribute first. So let me make sure that I do that. 3 times 4 gives me 12, and 3 times x gives me 3x. And now I can also make sure that I combine like terms. Right here I see 2 times 3. 2 times 3 gives me 6. And I did make a mistake. I forgot this x right here. I did 3 times x, not just 3 times 1. And my next step, now that I've distributed, is going to be combining like terms. So I see my variable is by itself. And then I see that I have the constant 12 and the constant 6. What is 12 plus 6? That will give me 18. And if I look, that is exactly what we have over here. So this is equal to this expression. And we are down to the last example. So again, I'm going to take the 2 actions that I remember. The first one is distributing. So I will need to distribute 3 to x, which is 3x, and 3 to 6, which is 18. I'm also going to make sure that I bring down the 12 that's in the front. And now I'm able to combine like terms. Which terms would you be combining? If you said 12 and 18, you're correct because they are constants. So I see that plus sign, they're positive. 12 plus 18 gives me 30. And then the last item that would need to be by itself is just that 3x because there are no other variables. And I'm going to keep the plus sign because that 30 was positive. And do you think this is or is not equal to it? Is not equal because it's not the exact same expression. Alrighty, to wrap up, in your own words, what does it mean to have equivalent expressions?